the interesting thing that they said, he will make our wars. He will ונלחם את מלחמותינו, he will lead us in wars. Now this is something reasonable, and I want to explain why it's reasonable before I will say why it's reasonable. For me, when I learn in Tanakh, a lot of sins that we read about them, we think that maybe our nation was a little bit silly. I mean, silly.
Oh, silly.
I mean, a lot of sins come to be why there was no any wise person to say it's a big mistake. Now, I think when we learn about our nation's sins, all the time there is a reason, a very deep reason, and I think it's better to learn it like that, because we can apply it to our sins. That even though it's very reasonable to make the sin, it's still a sin. And I can talk about, I think the best example is Chet HaEgel. Chet HaEgel, the golden cup, that seems to be the most silly sin that they could have. It also have a reason. I think a deep reason, but this is not our topic now. I talk now about the reason. First of all, they're right. If they will have a king, their army will be stronger. And that we will see. The difference between the judge's era, to Kvad HaShoftim, to the king's era, is when you have the king's era, you have a permanent army. Permanent army.
Yeah.
In the judge's era, it was always temporary, which means when there was a war, they called everybody, they start to did this war, and each one of them go to his own house. So the Am Yisrael was much weaker, and we can see even the amount of people that participate in the war was much less in the judge era than the king's era. Now we will see Am Yisrael will be much stronger. So they're right. The second thing, that this is something very interesting, why they want someone to make them wars, which wars they're talking about. And the answer is the wars against Plishtim. The Plishtim, all over the Sefer Shmuel, will have some wars with Am Yisrael. Will be the biggest problem for Am Yisrael. Now we will see in the next story, the next war with Plishtim, that will be in 4 prakim from now. The Plishtim is in much better position. Much better position, and they need a leader. Now this is quite surprising, because the last time we heard about the Plishtim was in Perek Zayin, in Perek Zayin, when Shmuel make a war with the Plishtim. Shmuel beat the Plishtim, and our position become to be much better. So there is a gap here that we don't hear about it. Probably something happened that we don't hear about it, that the Plishtim become to be in a better position. So when they are in this better position, Am Yisrael want a king that will lead them. Because of that, I think it's a reasonable request. But like we saw, God didn't accept it. This request, or not accept it. Didn't like this request, even though it's reasonable. So this is one interesting thing about all this dilemma, all this discussion. The second thing is the last pasuk that you read in the perek, that God gave them, told them, all right, give them a king. Now, why God did it, even though He rejected that? This is something interesting, I think, that all the time God, the Talmud call it bederach shadam rotzeh lelech mulichim oto. In the way that a person wants to go, God help him to go. Which means God, in a kind of He is kind of a democrat. If the nation wants it, He will give them it will give them this, even though it's not a good request. Now we will see in Sefer Shmuel it was a good request. Later it will be much more problematic in Sefer Melachim. But in this Sefer it will be something good, but God go with them. What I say, He go with them, not exactly like they want to. Which means He will give them a king, but not like all the other nations. What will be the difference? I think this is the next perek, the next story about the first king.
Who wrote Shmuel?
Good question. According to in Masechet Baba Batra, there is one sugya that written about each book who wrote it. Now the principle there is the the prophets that were in the same days, in those days, wrote those books every time. I mean, for each book. For an example, Sefer Melachim. So the prophet that was in the end of Sefer Melachim wrote Sefer Melachim that this is Yirmiyahu. This is in general, except of Ketuvim, that this is not only prophets, that this is a different story. But for the prophets that we learn now, for Navi, it's always the prophet. So obviously, who wrote Sefer Shmuel? It should be Shmuel, right? So Shmuel wrote Sefer Shmuel. The problem is that in in 3 Prakim from now, Shmuel will pass away. So who wrote it later? There is another 2 prophets that we will hear about them. There is Gad and Natan, that they will live till the end of Sefer Shmuel. They not appear a lot of times, but they appear in this book. So according to Chazal, Gad and Natan and Navi wrote the continuing of Sefer Shmuel. So it's 3 prophets.
Was it like the Torah that was like the Torah was dictated to Moshe and he just said wrote whatever Hashem told him to write? But here, like, is that the same thing? Did Hashem tell Shmuel what to write?
Probably God gave him the content and not the exact words.
Oh.
In a minute I will tell you why. But there is a difference between the Torah and the Nevi'im, like there is a difference between Moshe and all the other prophets. So because of that, we relate the Torah differently than what we relate the Nevi'im. When the Torah is every word, every letter. It's important because God gave it as it is. Nevi'im, it's probably a little bit different. How could I know it? For an example, there is a prophecy of Yeshayahu and a prophecy of Micha that they lived in the same time, both of them, and it's almost exactly the same prophecy, but in different words. So probably God gave them this prophecy, but each one of them wrote it in his own style. This is what also the Talmud say. The Talmud said again about Yirmiyahu. Yirmiyahu, part of his prophecies was when he was a child. He started as a child to be a prophet. Now the Talmud said you can read it and see that this is a childish style how to write a prophecy. It's different style than Yeshayahu's style. So I think God gave the prophecy as it's like a prophecy like a dream, but I think much stronger. You got your dream. Now it's your option how to write it, how to write the words. So I think this is what happened here.
Thank you.
Doesn't it follow that their emunah was weakening, so therefore God is less helpful to them, right? So where else are they going to turn to? Right?
Well, that they request for a king.
Yeah, because I read that during Shmuel's time, where Shmuel was a big person to lift up the people, the wars were not that important that was happening.
Right. I will answer it with a metaphor. I think it's different situation. I won't say if it's bad, good or bad, but if they will have a king, they will be more independent, so they will be less dependent on God. Which means in the judge era, like we said, always they pray to God, He helped them, He sent them a judge, and then He saved them. If they will be independent, there will be much more abilities, and if it's so, they will need much less emunah. If it's bad or good or bad, it's a question. Now I can give you an example, a metaphor, how to apply it to our life. I think most of you had teenagers in your house, right?
Have had teenagers.
You have had teenagers, but not now, I suppose. So I want to talk about this. Thanks God. Thank God. It's something very common that there are some problems with teenagers. I think it's amazing age. I mean, because of that, I working with this age all the time, for more than 10 years, because it's amazing age. Exactly because of that. Because when they are teenagers, they have much more abilities, and they want to be much more independent. Because of that, they are less depends on you. And when they are more independent, they do different things than you. Now, Am Yisrael, I think, in the Judge era, there was like children. When they did something good, they get a reward. Do something bad, get a punishment. All the time, when they are in a problem, they ask from Dad, maybe you can help us, and he helped them. This is this era, the childhood of Am Yisrael. Now, when they ask for a king, this is the teenagers. Now, teenagers, like we know, they have much more abilities. It could be their sins become to be much bigger, and also, but their good abilities, the positive attitude to life, could be much bigger also because of their abilities. So I think the problem that God have with Am Yisrael here, it's like a parent with his teenager. This is maybe the story here. All right, so let's start now to hear about this king, and we'll see how is it. This is a king, but not a king like Kehol HaGoyim, like the all other nations. So. So let's read Aleph to Vav, 1 to 6. Right?
Sure. Now there was a man of Binyamin, and his name was Kish, the son of Aviel, the son of Tzror, the son of Bechorat, the son of Afiyah, the son of a Benjamite man, a mighty man of power. And he had a son whose name was Saul. He was young and handsome, there being no one of the children of Israel handsomer than he. From his shoulders and upwards he was taller than any of the people. Now the she-asses of Kish, Shaul's father, became lost, and Kish said to Shaul his son, now take one of the servants that will arise and go seek the she-asses. And he passed through Har Ephraim, and he passed through the land of Shalisha, and they did not find them. And they passed through the land of Sha'alim, and they were not there. And he passed through the land of Binyamin, and they did not find them. When they had come into the land of Zuth, Shaul said to his servant who was with him, come, let us return, lest my father cease to worry about the she-asses and worry about us. Mamshir?
All right, so let's stop here in a minute. The exposition at the beginning, it reminds us somewhere else. Somewhere else that this is Megillah, Mordechai. Right. Mordechai Yehudi. It's the same, almost the same word in Ish Yemini in the end, but with Mordechai we end with Ben Kish, and here is Kish is the father also. I would say the opposite. I think that this is reminds us the Megillah. The Megillah wants to remind us this, that Mordechai is the continuing of Shaul. Now Shaul, like we know, he will be the next king. What he have, what we know about his personality, about his characteristic. We will know something that we didn't know already till now, that he was humble. But except of that, what we know about him, that he was handsome and tall. Is that the character of a king?
Worked for Jack Kennedy.
What?
Worked for the President of the United States.
There's a study.
John Kennedy.
Presidents of companies.
Yes.
They're all taller. There's a study. Presidents and prime ministers, whatever, and they're all taller. There's not a short guy. It's always someone tall who looks the part.
Right. Ben-Gurion and Yitzhak Shamir also. Generally. Now,
in the nations.
There is something here that I can't really explain, but I think some of the values that we have today are different than the values then. Now, there are some people that was chosen because they are pretty, or nice, or have a good appearance. We know all the imahot that we have: Sarah, Rivka, Rachel. I think also Leah. I think also Leah. Esther Malka, that was her son. Yosef. We have a lot of persons. Most of them are women, but also men, that they chose. That seems to be, according to the pshat, that they're chosen because they have a nice appearance. Now, a lot of midrashim, or a lot of commentators, trying to explain it in a metaphorical way. It's a metaphorical way, which means it's not only how they look like, it's something inside. I think maybe it's because our values today, or also all the Middle Ages, are different than in the Tanakh. In the Tanakh, maybe it was a real value, a good appearance. How to say good appearance? You say?
Attractive appearance.
Attractive appearance. Attractive appearance. I think it's when we talk about it as a value. I think one of the problems today that people don't talk about it. I'm talking about the Jewish religion society, not talking about it as a value. For an example, singles that looking for a mate for a shidduch, they're embarrassed to say, "I'm looking for someone with attractive appearance." Now they're looking for that, but they're embarrassed to say it. So this is the problem. If you will talk about it, if they will talk about it, it will be part of what you're looking for, and you can negotiate on those parts. I mean, if it's something between the lines and you not talk about it, sometimes it's have more impact. Now here we can say it's something. Probably it's something important. It's really important, especially how the nation will relate this king. Now I can combine those two attitudes, or it's a metaphor, or really the appearance is so important. Maybe the appearance shows something about how he looked like. About something about his personality, or it's something you can talk about something spiritual that God gave a appearance like that to persons that it fit their personality, or you can, if you want to explain it in a psychologist way, maybe it did affect them. I can give you an example. I had a friend in my childhood that was very, very tall all the time, and all the adults in our life, I mean, he was a friend of mine during all the childhood. All the adults that we met, all the teachers, the parents, our madrichim, relate him as the mature guy in the society. So he became to be the mature guy in our society. So it's something very, very, very common. Now, probably people relate those nice people, good appearance people, in the same way, and maybe it's what makes them to be in this personality. So we can combine them both. Another thing that we will talk about is how he was humble, his humility. His humility, I think, when he's so nice, so tall, and even though he's humble, I think it's more it's showing something more about his humility. His humility, even though he's so tall. So this is what we know about him. Now they're walking, they're looking for those atonot. I want to talk about another two interesting terms. One of them, it's in the end of Pasuk Aleph. Gibor Chayil. What is Gibor Chayil?
It's a root.
What?
Root. In Megillat Root.
In Megillat Root also, Gibor Chayil.
Yeah,
what is Gibor Chayil?
A mighty man of valor.
Mighty man of?
Valor.
What is valor?
I'm not sure.
Eshet Chayil, woman of valor.
Well, I want to talk also Eshet Chayil. I think this, my opinion, I think that all the time we have Chayil in the Tanakh, it's wealthy men. Wealthy. It's not always it's wealthy with honors, with honest. What?
Honorable.
Honorable, but he got his money in honorable way. He worked for it.
He's not wealthy through honest means.
What?
He's wealthy by honest means.
Exactly.
He acquired his money honestly.
Exactly. Now, if you read Eshet Chayil, I think all Eshet Chayil, it's something unique in the Tanakh. That there is a wealthy woman that got all her money with working, with merchandise, with all what he did. Almost all this perek is about her work. How she worked. Also Boaz, that he was Gibor Chayil because he had some pills. Now I think also Kish, I suppose he was wealthy because he can send his son with his servant to look for the atonot. Aton is usually we translate it as the female of donkey. Again, I don't know what the reason, but during all the Tanakh, rich people have atonot. Regular people have chamurim. Rich people got the female donkey. The regular people got the
Because an aton is more valuable, because you can make more babies.
maybe it's more valuable. Maybe I have a suspicion. I don't know if it's right that aton, a female donkey, is not the correct translation. But I don't know what is it. Maybe it's a rich or like I said, valuable donkey. Which kind? I don't know. But all the time, all the atonot that mentioned in the Tanakh are for rich people. So we look for his atonot.
Well, it sounds like they're very valuable donkeys that he would spend so much time looking for.
Right. Right.
Stomach-sized donkey.
Yeah.
But it's more than one.
If that's who else got have an aton, it's Bilam. Bilam have an aton. Also in Shirat Dvorah, talking about Rochovei Atonot Schorot, the people that riding this atonot, which means the rich people that used to be in our land, but they are not anymore.
Maybe it's a mixture of a horse and a donkey?
No, this is Pered.
Okay.
Also, I'm not sure, the Pered appear in the Tanakh, but I'm not sure if in the Tanakh it's talking about mules. Mules, in the modern Hebrew, mule is a Pered.
Okay.
Yeah. Now you want to go to the Isha Elohim, but there is Isha Elohim Navi. We know that this is Shmuel. Again, we talk about that Shmuel, it was something unique then. There wasn't a lot of prophets, but he knows that there is a prophet there, and let's ask him. Now, if you want the first source of to bring a kvitalach to a rabbi, it's here, a kvital. So this is Pasuk Zayin.
No, we didn't read Vav yet.
We didn't read Vav. Alright, so let's read Vav till Yudalid. Alright?
So you're done?
Yeah, Yudalid. 6 to 14.
Yeah, 14. Okay. And he said to him, Behold now, a man of God is in the city, and the man is held in high esteem. Everything which he speaks surely comes to pass. Now let us go there. Perhaps he will tell us our way upon which we have gone. And Shaul said to his servant, And behold, if we go, what shall we bring to the man? For the bread is used up from our vessels, and there is no present to bring to the man of God. What have we? The lad answered Shaul again and said, Behold, I have in my possession 1/4 of a shekel of silver, and I shall give it to the man of God, that he may tell us our way. Formerly in Israel, when a man went to inquire of God, he would say thus, Come, let us go to the seer, for he who is called a prophet today was formerly called a seer. And Shaul,
The what? The?
A seer.
What is seer?
Go ahead.
Seer.
Right, yeah.
Right.
And Shaul said to his servant, Well said, come let us go. And they went to the city where the man of God was. And as they were going up the ascent to the city, they found young maidens coming out to draw water. And they said to them, Is the seer here? And they answered them and said, He is. Behold, he is before you. Hurry now, for today he has come to the city, for the people will have the sacrifice of the day in the high place. When you come to the city, straightway you will find him before he ascends the high place to eat, for the people will not eat until he comes, for he will bless the sacrifice, and afterwards the invited guests will eat. Now go up, for at this time you will find him. And they went up to the city. As they were coming into the midst of the city, and behold, Shmuel was coming out toward them to ascend the high place.
Right. So, a few things that we have here. First of all, that people went to the prophet, give him something. I mean, maybe it's very interesting to see the polite there in those days. Give him something. It's important to know it, because in the last speech of Shmuel, he will say, "I didn't got nothing from you." I think it's sometimes we can see it even today, or you can see it even today when people go to a rabbi, if he got something, or if he got something, if it's for him personally or for his community. For the community. I heard a lot about, if you want to know, especially for a Mekubalim, if he's real one or not real one, look about the money. If he has too much benefits from the fact that he is Mekubal, probably
Not real.
no, it's suspicious, right? But the opposite is not. Now they got he said reva shekel kesef, exactly a quarter. It's exactly a quarter. Let's give him a quarter, and now we see that he didn't live from those things. It wasn't more than that, and also I don't know if it was for him or not for him. Second thing, something very interesting. They saw some ne'arot, now young girls. Ask them, is there in here any ro'eh, any prophet? Now they answer him, v'tanena otam. They answer them, yesh, there is. Now, and then I can read it in Hebrew again. Yesh, hine lefanecha, maher, ata, ki hayom ba la'ir. They're talking. Two psukim, very big psukim, more than 40 words.
Which pasuk is talking here? Sorry.
Yud Bet and Yud Gimel.
Okay.
Talking, today came to the city, and now there is a big celebration and a sacrificing, and you can find them there. And again. Now the answer of his question was one word. Yes, there is. But the answer more than 40 words. Why? No.
Because he was good looking.
Exactly. Yeah, the comment said he was good looking. So those young girls give him all this information because he was good looking. I think it's a kind of a expression of how the Tanakh shows us, not only says he was good looking, see how it affects people. Now people relate differently to good looking people. So he was good looking. Because of that, he got all the information that he should get without any. He even didn't ask for it. So now he went there. So this is the second detail. Third detail: what is the celebration that they have in the city? They're sacrificing for what? What happened? It's not written here. It will be written in the next pasuk, which means it's a preparation for Shaul. It's a welcoming for Shaul, but nobody knows that it's a welcoming for Shaul except of one person. This is Shmuel. So he coming for his own welcome, without anybody there know that he's all welcome. We'll see it later. The last thing I want to say is the word haroeh, the sinner. Seer. The seer. People use this
No,
word?
it's not English.
From the word see.
Yeah, it's a gold English.
The question is, a prophet, did the prophet see or heard what will happen?
Still he heard.
He see or heard?
Usually.
What?
It's usually a dream, you know?
It's a kind of dream. Alright, so I would ask you, in your dream, you're see or hear?
Both.
You don't either, it's in your brain.
Exactly. You can say both, you can say none of them.
Both and none, yeah.
I think a prophecy, it's quite the same. Prophecy is quite the same. It's something directly from God to the brain of the prophet. Now we have some clues clues in the Tanakh how a prophet feels. We can't know exactly because we don't have prophets today. But one of the clues is here, that to the same action you can call seer or to hear God or to see something. Now this is what we call in different words it's chazon. Chazon, it's a vision. Chazon Ishayahu ben Amos, the vision of Ishayahu. But a lot of times we say that the prophets heard God. I think because of that, you can say them both or none of them. Something else. No? Pasuk. Let's see, pasuk tetvav. Tetvav. That's it. Three psukim. Yeah.
Okay. Now the Lord had revealed to Shmuel one day before Shaul's coming, saying, "At this time tomorrow I shall send to you a man from the land of Binyamin, and you shall anoint him to be a ruler of my people Israel, and he will save my people from the hand of the Philistines, for I have looked upon my people, for their cry has come to me." You want me to read your line?
One more pasuk, yeah?
Okay, and Shmuel saw Shaul, and the Lord said to him, "Behold the man about whom I said to you, this one will rule over my people.
Right. So God told Shmuel a day before what will happen, that he will send one person. Now, this is very interesting, not because what happened, because we know a lot of the prophets know what's happened. What's interesting here is why it's written like that. Which means, in different words, this perek written not by order. Now, we know that most of Sefer Shmuel, not all the Sfarim in the Tanakh, but most of the Nevi'im Rishonim, which mean Yoshua, Shoftim, Shmuel, Melachim, written by order.
In order.
In order. In order. There is some exceptions, but they're written in order. Now, this not written in order, and it's it could be very simple to write it by order. To start the perek with, God told to Shmuel that will come a person. Stop at this point, and then start the story about Shaul. Why it's written like that? Now, this is a kind of literature question. I just want to say that most of the commentaries not dealing with literature questions. I mean, talking mostly about the content and not why it's written, why the content written like that. Why it's written like that? I think that the Tanakh wants us to focus on Shaul. The focus in this story is Shaul and not Shmuel. More than that, it gives us the feeling of there is someone anonymous here. And I think this is the important thing in this story. Shaul is anonymous. He is not the type of the king that all the people want. They thought about someone famous, someone that very popular, and in purpose, it's not only what happened, it's the way that the Tanakh tells us what happened. We're starting with anonymous person that walking and have no money and no food, didn't have any food, looking for his donkeys, and suddenly found Shmuel. And then, by the way, let's hear also about Shmuel. So this is the focus. And I think also it's not, again, not only the content, the way that it's written shows that Shmuel is go down from the stage, and Shaul now standing in the middle of the stage, the historical stage.
It's really a very good device to make you feel how Shaul felt, because Shaul is coming and he's kind of, like you said, oblivious. He doesn't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We also don't know what's going to happen. If the revelation to Shmuel would have preceded this, then we would it wouldn't have the same dramatic surprise.
Right.
This allows you to identify what he's walking in there. What's going to happen next? We have no idea what's going to happen next.
Right.
So
Right. I think also it gives us the same feeling here. Right. Another thing that Shmuel did know what will happen. He didn't know one detail, important detail. What's the detail?
Who the person would be.
Who is the person? I mean, especially if he saw the vision, like we say, the seer, he saw the vision, he should have seen how Shaul looked like. Now, I think this is a kind of sarcasm here, which means, and we see it again, God will, there will be a midrash about another thing that Shaul won't know in the future. Again, when he will crown David, when Shmuel will crown David, also he won't know, because it's written here. We didn't read it now. Maybe we'll read it. And
but the nevuah doesn't have to be always in high definition.
What?
The nevuah doesn't have to be in high definition. The nevuah could come in certain parts are you see just a shape of a person. You don't know who it is.
Right, but I will see. I will say it now because we have a break, because we won't read it. The thing that the Chazal said later in a few psukim, Shaul will ask, who is the seer? And we say, I am the seer. Now this is quite arrogant to say like that. Shmuel said, I am the seer. Because you are not the seer. You are a person that God show you things, but you not see it not depends on you, it depends on God. Because of that, twice he didn't know who is the person, when he crowned Shaul and when he crowned David. Or in different words, God gave him the prophecy, but he talked to him and not show him the prophecy. Or in a different, exactly the word that he said, the seer, this didn't exist, didn't happen. We can call him like the seer, the hear, the listener, and not the seer. Now, why it's important? I think it's not only the two words, Anochi Haroeh, I am the seer. I think more than that, there was one whole pasuk that said, people called the prophet the seer. When they say people called the prophet the seer, who is the prophet that people called him? It's Shmuel. I mean, this was what's written on his card, the seer. I mean, as an expression. It's not only those two words. Because of that, I think God wants to show him, you are the prophet, you are not the seer. Right? So this is what happened here. We're exactly in the middle of the story. We stopped here, even though we are waiting. We will wait now 3 weeks. But you can continue to read it by yourself.
The interesting thing, when Shmuel first was introduced to prophecy, it wasn't anything. He didn't see anything. It was all listening.
Right.
It was all the hearing.
Right.
He heard it coming from over above Eli. So it's ironic that he would call himself the seer, when in fact he didn't see. He didn't know.
Right. Actually, there are some deep differences between to see and to hear, even today. I think if we want to talk, it's Torah shebichtav and Torah shebe'al peh. Torah shebichtav is what we can see. Torah shebe'al peh is what we are hearing. There is a lot of mitzvot that you can divide into those two groups. To be that we are, if we are seers or listeners. What are we? Or what to emphasize? I think it's something that is changing during the history, and you have some mitzvot like that and mitzvot like that. I can give you an example. Masechet Rosh Hashanah. It's a masechet that you can divide to two in the Mishnah. 2 prakim talking about to see the moon. If you see the moon, then this is Rosh Chodesh. The second part is to hear the shofar. So the seers and the listeners. Different kind of mitzvot that we have. So maybe this is a difference here. Maybe we'll talk about it more in 3 weeks. If not, we'll continue with the story. So, חופשה נעימה.